Hi, everybody. I'm Sheridan.
And I'm Jordan.
And together, we're Sippin on Spice podcast.
We treat this like a girls' night. So once a week, Sheridan and I read a book and we sit down and review it together, open up a beverage, and just kind of chat through everything that happened. We don't necessarily get into anything technical unless the wind takes us. We're just here to kind of gossip.
Absolutely. And we treat it like a girls' night. We also rate the books on a star scale as well as a spice scale. Well, a penne scale for spice. And this week on this episode, we're going to be reviewing Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn versus Netflix Bridgerton Show Season 3.
And this is Penelope and Colin's story, just in case you've only ever watched Netflix. Our goal with this episode is, since we are a book podcast, we are mainly going to focus on the differences between the book and the show and just like little things that kind of stood out to us that we want to talk about. We are going to do our best not to spoil anything that could potentially happen in the show or in the other books, because it's after reading the book, I personally have only read this particular book in the Bridgerton series, but I've seen the entire Netflix show. And I now know that there are a different order to the books than there are to the seasons of the show. So there are potential spoilers in there that we are going to do our best not to touch on, truly focusing on Penelope, Colin, and things that happen this season.
And I'm known for spoiling, I have read all the books, so I will genuinely try my best. I will genuinely try my best not to spoil anything.
Well, that's all one can ask for.
All one can ask for. Okay. I know that we have been talking quite a bit that we're super excited to record this episode because we have so many notes and so many things to get into.
Yeah.
So there's just so much to say. Where should we start?
I actually know exactly what to say. It is the first note I have upon reading the book. In all capitals, I wrote, their names are in alphabetical order of age. I am so dumb.
Oh my God. I didn't know that. I had no idea.
You know how much easier it would have been to remember? They talk about it at the very beginning of the book. They say their age, so Anthony is an A, then it's B, Benedict, because he's the second, C for Colin, because he's the third, D is Daphne, etc., etc.
I missed that. Even on my reread, I missed that.
I don't think they ever missed it in the or mention it in the show, do they?
Not that I remember. This is like brand new information. And I literally just read this book.
I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, I could have, because I remember, especially in the first couple seasons, watching this show and being like, I will never keep track of this army that Violet has conjured.
All her kids. Yeah, no, that is my first point that I want to go into. So I'm glad that this kind of flows. I literally just reread this book. I read it like 4 years ago for the first time. So I had to reread it while we were analyzing it for the show. We're going to talk about it versus the show. And there were so many things I went back and I was like, oh, I just love this book. Like it was such a good reread. And also I think I liked it better reading it this time than I did before. Because before I would venture to say this is not my favorite historical romance series as someone who likes historicals. But rereading, I was like, oh, this is even better than I remember. I really enjoyed the reread. It's a great book and I'm so excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it was honestly so well written. This was my first historical romance read. I was nervous about it. I think I've always been nervous by the creepy tiny books. There's something about them there's just something about them that I don't know. Like, I don't know why like modern romance being like a taller, thinner book. I don't know what it is. It's less like alarming. So I was always kind of like worried about it. But I loved it. I would absolutely read another historical now. And now I actually want to read the entire Bridgerton series for sure.
God. I love that. And you totally should. Historicals are so good. You totally should. But I totally get what you say. They always have some shirtless man on there, some man chest. They always have like corset.
And they look like
boobage. Yes. Oh my God, I know. Which I actually like. How are those real people or are those illustrations? They're illustrations, right?
I mean, maybe they're AI. Well, I don't know.
They could be. They could be. I mean, we don't know.
Back then.
And maybe AI's been around a lot longer.
What else is weird is like when I went to go physically buy the Bridgerton book, they had like the small versions of it too. So they had like the one I bought, like the normal book size, but they had this exact cover in the smaller size. And then they had like the 2 other different covers, like the actual like Netflix cover and then like something else. And I was like, why would you choose to print it so different? Like, do publishers not care about printing aesthetics? Because I care a lot.
You're like, this doesn't fit. I that is very interesting because I think when they're littler and they're smaller, it's more like nostalgic for the genre. And then also I have the little smaller ones and they're easier to read. Like, because they're easier to get through and like flip the pages.
What do you mean? Like you're like, oh, like what is
we both share that it's easier to read quickly on a Kindle, or you like can just get into it and you can read really quickly. Physical books take a little bit longer of time. I don't know why, but they do. So when they're little and small, you can just like you read the page and you're just going. You're just turning pages. You're just going.
I actually think you're onto something there because I read so much faster on my Kindle. And I really think it's because like I read like in the middle of doing things, like I don't really like watch as much TV. I'll pick up my book or like, I don't know, if I'm like dilly-dallying, I don't go on social media, I'll pull up my Kindle, right? And I'll read it. And I like my books, I'm scared to like if I'm eating and reading, I'm nervous to get them dirty. Like I'm nervous to bend the pages certain ways. Like I feel like there's additional care that goes into a physical book versus a ebook.
I totally agree. And and I think that's why maybe mentally when they're the smaller publishing and the paper is even a different type of paper. If you've noticed, when they're the smaller books, it's a coarser paper, where I don't know, I'm not a publisher, but like when you have like the nicer contemporary
from your time in publishing.
Yes. Yeah. From my previous career, no one knows about, but no, the paper's coarser. So I feel like you feel a little more comfortable, maybe being a little rougher on it. I don't know.
Oh, that was sexual. No, but I do actually want to revisit this topic. Let's put a pin in it and talk about it when we record Not in Love.
Yes.
I have a physical copy of that, and
okay,
we need to speak about it.
Okay, I'm excited. I have Kindle, so we can.
I want to put a pin in this because you have said some things that are going to be very relevant to a conversation I'm going to bring up soon.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Another thing I wanted to call out, because again, I watched the show first. So you read the books first before the show ever came out.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just read so far the one Colin and Penelope book, but I've seen all of the seasons and have been following regularly. That being said, as an avid reader, reading this book was so different from a feel standpoint. Colin read so different than I think that he was presented from like an aesthetic. The vibe that you get from him. You know what I mean?
His personality.
He gave me blonde, male lead, reformed playboy energy.
In the book?
Like the hot shit, doesn't take anything seriously. Like almost like Oliver from the Dark Prince Road series.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously not as sexualized, but that was like 100% the vibe I got from him, was like that reformed playboy, like smooth.
Which is your favorite vibe?
I ate Colin up, okay?
I have so many things to say. Okay, I'm so excited. Okay.
No food left behind, Colin. Oh my God. Colin served in the book.
Okay, I have so much to say. I was reading this,
say ye?
So when I did this reread of the book versus the show, I totally thought of you during this reread, because I was like, he is totally giving like this playboy vibe. He's easygoing. He's funny. He's, it has this like, they mentioned multiple times he's super charming, reformed playboy. I was like, Jordan is going to love him. Like, I'm going to hear about how I love him. And what did you think I thought? What do you think I thought?
I think he annoyed you.
Yes! so much. But okay, yes.
Pause. Did you like, just like, I want to compare 1-to-1 in the show, that just take the season separate, like just the show. Did you find him annoying, or did you like him more in the show than in the book?
I'm going to shock you. I liked him more, even though he annoyed me. I liked him more in the book than I even liked him in the show. In the show, this is a big point I wrote down to talk about. In the show, to me, it's almost like he has an episode where I don't know what I want to say. Like he's
like a manic episode.
Yes. Like he's like, I will never court Penelope Featherington. When are you gonna marry me? But that happens in the span of like an episode or 2 episodes.
Yes.
Like
I totally get your point there.
And in the book, they build it up more. So even though he did frustrate me a little bit as his character, as reformed playboys sometimes do, he was still a good reformed playboy, all things considered. And I did believe his affection for her in the book.
Yeah, and I just feel like, okay, my favorite thing about a reformed playboy trope, which again, Colin gave strong energy to, I just love the like instead of the touch her and die, which I also do love. My favorite is the like nobody else was ever interesting until you. Like I like that at its core. And that's always the reformed playboy trope of like everybody was nothing until you came along, and he served that.
He did. And what I love that they do in the books is they even say, she flat out says he had never been in love. And like it was, for him, it was always her. In the shows, this is not a spoiler because if you've seen, they even mentioned
shows.
It in season 3.
Let's talk about all shows. We're gonna
let's
bring them in.
In the shows, they do this whole thing with Marina Thompson in the first or second season. Remember Penelope's cousin, Marina, maybe?
Oh, well, okay. Yeah,
they do that whole thing. He's in love with her. He proposes, doesn't he? In season 1 or 2, this girl, and remember, then he finds out that she's already
yes, the one she ruins.
Yes, exactly. He never had any physical. It was not his baby, but she was already pregnant. But he proposes to her, right? And then, like in the books, that just doesn't happen. Which again, in the show, I feel like they did maybe the love story a little bit of a disservice.
Yeah,
because it felt too forced or too rushed.
100%, and that was like my main takeaway, and I think. I'm so glad the writing in this was so good too. Like the comedy was so there. Like I love historical insults. There is nothing better than like a nice, clean insult that they issue to you in Bridgerton, very, very covered in roses, so to speak, I adore that kind of banter. So I was nervous about reading it because I think it's so well done in the show. And it really delivered, and it delivered better, I think.
Me too.
And I was so excited about that. I was like, holy cow, now I want to binge this entire series.
You should. No, the banter is really good in the books. And like between the family members, the banter, it's really funny.
I also then immediately started looking up all the special editions. Because I was like, well, I'm going to be like, buy the box set.
Yeah. You just did your accent. You just did it. First time tonight. The accent is coming out.
I don't know why I can't stop myself.
You're obsessed. Maybe Bridgerton also like doubly brings it out, but
I am deeply worried about as I consume more of these, how that is going to play out for me.
What accents you're going to be pulling out? What accents next?
Yeah, but I will say, usually I hear or read British accents in like a very Cockney accent, like no matter what, because it's all my brain can do. Yeah. But I feel like, again, it was so well written that the way it was worded, it was easier to mentally think of an elegant British accent. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they're not just dropping in like a love or like one word where you're like a mate. Not like faded, like hey.
Faded mate. That's terrible. I can't do it. You gotta stay doing them.
But yeah, you get my point.
Yes.
Usually they drop in like one word where you're like, oh shit, you're British. I forgot.
I give it away,
and then their accent just like tweaks again. But that's no, so funny. She writes it in a way that is easy to mentally hear. Fancy.
Oh, I agree. And the way the sentences flow are great. Like they sound beautiful, but like when they go back and forth, it's like, dang, I wish I talked like that. Like I wish, you know.
There's the part in the book where Eloise, and I think all of them are like having tea or whatever, and they're having a conversation and they're debating the structure of sentences.
Yes.
And I sat there and read it and was like, I'm too dumb. If I had been in the room, I would have been like,
like, so I just
biscuits are good.
So true. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about Colin in the show versus the book. I think that he's better in the book. I think his love and affection is more believable in the book. It's something that I absolutely really appreciated in the book and the reread versus the show is that Colin absolutely knows, again, spoilers, that she's Lady Whistledown in the book before he proposes and before any sexy time happens. In the show, it feels almost like it comes off like she's trying to quote unquote trap him. And I do not like that vibe that they're trying to make her seem like.
Okay, so I did think of a lot about this, actually. Because, and I'm going to start it off one step back, and it's that I noticed that they used key catalysts and key points that were the same in the book and in the show, but they changed how it happened. And what I mean by that is I totally agree with what you said. In the book, he knows that she's Lady Whistledown, and then he proposes, which I thought was so romantic.
Me too.
Like it was such night and day romance for me. Night and day romance. But
yeah.
He does say that her releasing the paper, like saying that it wasn't Cressida, that Lady Whistledown isn't Cressida, he said that he felt blindsided by that and that he would not have the opportunity to back out of the engagement because it was at their engagement party or after, which she notably said she intended to do.
True.
So I think I agree that I think it was messed up that they did sex as the entrapment, but I think that they used the same concept of entrapment, but I thought it took away from the love story the way they did it.
I totally agree. In the show, it absolutely takes away from the love story because it's almost, then they get married and their first few days of marriage or week of marriage, they don't even speak to each other. They don't sleep in the same bed. We're losing all that really good Bridgerton romance steaminess in the show. And in the books, they do have, I do want to talk about this. They have a lot of conflict in the book, a lot of conflict in the book, but their marriage portion and their honeymoon portion and all of that, you still get the romance aspect of their love story.
Yeah. And I think, and it's hard for me to say because I didn't read Daphne's book yet. So you can choose what you want to add to this, but I think that in the show, you remember that Daphne and Simon have all of their disagreements after marriage.
True.
Kind of similar concept. And they spend the initial days fighting, but that was like episode 2, I feel like. Like, I feel like they get married right away. And the story, the crux of their relationship actually happens in the marriage or in the initial piece of the marriage. So they didn't do Penelope and Colin the same justice because the story didn't live there.
I agree. I totally agree. And that's why I feel like in the show, it does the book a disservice because it feels rushed. It feels
100%.
Paced.
And it just Colin feels disingenuous.
Totally.
Like, I feel like I feel like Penelope feels like a pity Mary in the movie.
Yeah.
I think they work their way towards the end of like making a point of him saying he loves her and all of that. But I feel like the way that it got issued did a real disservice to you feeling like there was a true love story there and not just, I guess, a friendship and obligation.
Yes. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And she does touch on in the beginning of the book how she feels that for a long time he was nice to her. She felt it was out of obligation or his mom really pushing because she mentions his mom has been bringing up marrying her specifically over and over. And I think a big part of their romantic runway and how everything plays out is the whole she walks in on him saying, I'll never marry Penelope Featherington in the book and the show.
Yes. And that's another key point where they use the same catalyst, but they do it so different. So the way that you mentioned it in the beginning, how it was a strange and off-putting moment, like it just makes Colin seem like a D-bag, for lack of a nicer way to put it. But in the book, it explains why and how it happens in a way that like you forgive him. Like, I just don't feel like I wanted to forgive show Colin as
Me
much
neither.
as I wanted to forgive and really cared about book Colin.
I agree. Because I could see it too. Like if your parent is consistently hounding you and then your brothers are teasing you, and then in a moment you raise your voice because you're frustrated at teasing, and then that person's standing right there. You didn't mean it towards them.
Right.
And in the book, they do a really good job of explaining that, and then also explaining that he felt really bad about it. Like he knew he hurt her, and oh my gosh, I will say this. I love her reaction in the book being like, oh, why would I be upset? I'm not going to marry Benedict. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would I be upset?
And the fact, like, I love that they do a point to make her so well spoken in the book, because again, I feel like it doesn't necessarily come across the same way. Like, she's Lady Whistledown, she writes well, but I guess her verbal delivery, especially in season 3, a lot of times she was like in front of drifting balloons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she didn't get a lot of that eloquence across. I think it like witty, and I don't know what the right phrase is, but
and she's like, she talks about struggling with her confidence and being invisible, but in the book, when we read her, because it is like a 12-year jump from when she hears.
Oh my God, she's 33.
28. He's
or 28. She's 33. You're right.
In their world, same difference. In their world, she says she's off the shelf or whatever.
She's an old lady, and he's a eligible bachelor.
Exactly.
Classic.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like they do a really good job in the book of her like standing up for herself more after all this time. And she has some really good points and like good comebacks, I guess, or quips or whatever you want to call them. And in the show, I didn't feel that.
Yes. Like I liked her personality a lot better. I thought I also was able to envision her differently. And she also calls out that she lost the weight, which is interesting that they didn't see that storyline through, because I think it was interesting to talk about the point of view of somebody who has been bullied and then changed themselves and still sees themselves as like the past version, where somebody else is able to see the newer version. It does kind of suck that they did that storyline a little bit of a disservice.
I can see that. And I would think that I have thoughts on that. So I think too that I agree with the trajectory. I'm saying I think that. I'm just trying to...
You're like, I think that I thought.
I want to be concise. I just want to word this the best way possible. When I first read this 4 years ago, this never crossed my mind. Upon getting, I guess, older myself, now that I've read this book,
becoming a spinster of your own,
becoming a spinster of my own, I felt like, oh, I actually liked how the show did her body image.
Oh, okay.
Just because I think it's a slippery slope of the reformed Playboy Colin.
Oh,
did he only show interest and love her because she lost the weight?
That's a very good point.
And I think the show does a better job of that because the actress is gorgeous and her wardrobe, her glow up. I love the show's glow up. Like
her outfits.
Yes.
They did that storyline such a good job.
They did such a good job. So that for me, I feel like I've been heavily pro book. That's 1 point for the show for me.
Interesting. I do feel differently now that you said that.
Now that my thoughts came out and I did,
Once we got there.
Yes.
Okay. I liked that we as readers did not know who Lady Whistledown was until this book. So in this book, you do not know that Penelope is Lady Whistledown until Colin catches her. So same concept, right? He catches her trying to publish and unmasks her as Lady Whistledown. But imagine you as a viewer did not know that until now.
It was so good. Because like
so much better.
She holds off for a long time. She's like, I don't know who it is. And then
her writing to the way she thinks about it is so cleverly written that you purposely avoid her taking ownership, even in her thoughts.
Yes. A great job. I much prefer how it's revealed in the book that we find out at the same time as Colin. And then you're like, WTF.
Yes.
What? Yes. I totally agree. And I think, like, again, that just makes your relationship with Penelope as the character when you're reading the book so much stronger. When it shows how clever she is.
Yes. Yeah. It shows how clever and well-spoken, well-written she is, right? Because it's all about the play on words, how much or how little she reveals, right? You can say a lie without telling a lie.
Yes, yes. Okay, this is what I've been burning to talk to you about real quick, and it's Eloise, book versus show. Okay. So there's no competition for me. Book Eloise versus show Eloise. No competition.
10 out of 10. Book Eloise is so much better. She's an actual friend. Her blaseness makes sense in this. Like everything about it, even some of the allusions they do to Lady Whistledown and like Colin in the show, they do keep that storyline of her having like the ink on her hands and them thinking that she's Lady Whistledown. So they keep that storyline. But they allude to something different and kind of give you why she's so distracted, or at least I guess allude to why she's so distracted. And in the show, I hated her.
Me too. Oh, we're gonna put the book aside for a second because we can get into that. But let's just talk about her in the show. It's so bad. It's so bad. She cannot be a good friend. She talks about being a good friend the entire show, but every chance she gets, she's a bad friend.
And it does not matter to who. Exactly. That's the most important point. It's not that Penelope betrayed her. It's not that Cressida betrayed her. It does not matter. I actually, in not the book, again, putting the book aside, just the show, felt so bad for Cressida.
Me too.
She tried to be a friend to her and she showed it, and Eloise knew it, and she still chose to walk away from her. She chose to walk away from Penelope in her point of time of need.
Yep.
It just seems like Eloise in the show only wanted friendship for her and did not actually want to be a friend to anybody.
I completely agree. And what really annoyed me when I was watching the show is like Cressida would be like, yeah, I have to marry someone older than my grandpa. He wants all these kids. My life is over. I'm super stressed. I'm paraphrasing. And then Eloise would be like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, she would always be like, she would always be not listening, distracted, thinking about the fact that Penelope is Lady Whistledown. Grow up about it. What the does it have for you? Like, what is it that you are so worried about?
Exactly. And if we go back to how they became friends, it's even worse because remember, Lady Whistledown writes some bad things about Eloise or shares her secrets. So then she's like in the country away from society. She's quote unquote shunned. Cressida is the only person that showed her genuine friendship after her falling out with Penelope. Yes. And then Eloise could not care less about Cressida's plight. That is, as a woman, is extremely stressful. I felt for Cressida.
Yeah, especially because every time it felt like she tried to do the right thing, she got shut down. So it's like she wasn't in the show trying to necessarily be a bad person. It was just like she had been taught to be a bad person by her mom. They highlight that very well.
They do.
And then she just tries and no one shows up for her.
No one. And she consistently gets the short end of the stick.
It's sad. But in the book, bitch deserves it.
Terrible. Yeah, she's terrible. And she's already married. So the whole show plot.
Well, he's already dead.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's true. So she does marry that guy. I think it's the same guy, the same old man, but she actually had married him.
Yes.
Had kids? I can't remember if she had kids.
I can't remember because again, I barely remembered that she's in the books, but she
I think she was real.
No, I knew she was, but I thought she had like a really small part. But in this book, she does have a larger part. But yes, I can't remember if they have kids. I mean, I'm assuming so. And the blackmail storyline, again, different, but same blackmail storyline of having to pay Cressida, like Penelope and Colin in the book and the show.
Oh,
Cressida demands money. Like that blackmail storyline is just different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting too, though, that in the show, it felt like Colin didn't respect Penelope until she found out she had a lot of money. Did you notice that? Okay, so there was one turning point for Colin in the show for Penelope and for giving this whole Lady Whistledown thing, right? Because he finds out they're already married, getting married. It's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
And yeah. And he consistently tries to tell her to quit, is not behind it. And then Cressida comes to blackmail and he's like, well, we'll pay her. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, actually, technically I could.
Yeah. Which I love that part.
First of all, I love that when the mom was just like, run that back. What do you mean?
Right.
It was very Cher's I am a rich man.
Yes, exactly.
It was giving Cher. But what's interesting is that in the show, he specifically, once she says that, is suddenly like, actually, we're not paying her.
Yeah.
You know what? How dare she come for my wife? And then it's like, oh, bitch. Oh, you find out who's got the real pounds in this marriage.
I love that. You find out who's got the real pounds. I love that. I love that. No, I completely agree. And in the books, they do a much better job because, again, it feels very rushed in the show. In the books, they do a much better job of, yes, he is, and we could talk more about this. He does not want her to continue to do this. They also, in the book, they stress his jealousy, like his envy of how successful.
It makes so much more sense.
Yes.
His personality makes so much more sense in it. And what's interesting too is that he I'm trying to think of how to say it.
My big point of this too is like, so in the book and the show they briefly touch on he's envious of her. When also he wants her to stop. He's worried about her. There's a part of concern, but he's also really jealous and envious because he wants to be an accomplished writer. In the book, that's so much more explained and explored, and you can make more sense. What I really dislike about show Colin is both book and show Colin do this envy chapter where they feel envious of her. In the books, at the end, you so believe he genuinely is happy for her and proud of her. Like proud being the operative word.
Yes, actually, this is such a good point to call out because the notable difference between the book and the show, right? So let's start with the show. At the very end, Penelope wrote this letter to everybody, the Queen and to Violet, to announce who she was, steps out on the stage by herself and says who she is. Mind you, the people who clap for her and join her and stand by her side, not once is it Colin.
Nope.
They pan to Colin. Yep. And he's standing there like,
oh, I'm just here.
Giving his dwarfiest fake smile face. Whereas in the book, he stands up and says, my wife is so gangster. Here she is. Actually, this is Lady Whistledown. We out.
Exactly. And he says she's the most, like, he says all these wonderful things about her and in public on the balcony. And I absolutely love in the books, because this was a really big part for me too. In the books, Anthony is super there for her. Simon is super there for her. They're clapping. They're starting the clap.
They're all involved. They all told to stay with her. They're all given specific instructions. Like every single piece of it is like him showing her she's a Bridgerton now. She is family and that he is hers and she is his. And I just feel like if we really go back to that reveal scene, like go rewatch it and you're going to be like, that bitch.
Yes. But what I do love that they did in the show that they absolutely don't do in the books at all. Like, again, Colin is terrible in reaction. I also really am disappointed in the Bridgerton's reactions in the show versus the book reactions. But her sister showing up for her in a weird way in the show. But I teared up with her interactions with her mom being like my girl, like saying like you're so wonderful and like how clever you are. I teared up at that. And then I teared up, which is like wild, when the sister was like, Molly, the bugs. And like, you know, like to like make everyone, and I was like, that's the only time her sister shows up for her.
No, actually, no. So they do call out that she has 3 sisters in the book.
Yes.
So in the show, she has the 2 sisters that are also 2 bad sisters to her in the book. But she has a 3rd sister in the book. And this 3rd sister is like a best friend ally. So she was not alone in this household. She had a best friend. This girl shows up for her. But what's interesting, I think, that kind of jogged my memory when you were talking about the cousin is I think the cousin is supposed to be, and I'd have to go back and read the earlier ones. I think they took the catalysm of the cousin from that Felicity kind of, Felicity is the younger sister. Yes. And there's that talk track of Colin actually should marry Felicity.
Yes. And both her mom, Penelope and Felicity's mom, is really pushing Colin to marry Felicity.
Yeah. And even like when he goes to make the proposal, she's still trying to force this Felicity moment, not realizing that Penelope would be the one he would choose, which is so fucked up in its own super special way.
So messed up. Her mom is worse in the books. Also because she's wealthy in the books, and obviously they go through the whole money storyline in the show, which kind of makes you empathize more with the mom.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the things she said. But yeah, the mom is way worse in the books.
Well, okay. So here's what's interesting. I think the mom does come across specifically in the engagement scene much worse. And again, taking in mind, I've only read this one Bridgerton book out of it, right? So if it's not true in the past, we'll find out one day, or I shall. But what's interesting, I think, is what they actually allude to in both the show and the book, isn't that she didn't think that Penelope would marry necessarily because she wouldn't be desirable or that she doesn't love her, because they do make a point in both to say that, no, I really do love you. I'm sorry that like I came across this way.
Yeah.
But what she's saying and what she's implying is that she wants her to live with her and take care of her. And like, she sees her as like her, like penguin almost, like we're going to grow up old together, even though it's not delivering that way. So I thought that was really interesting and like a strange, like, I guess, believable parent storyline.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like parents who are mean with the intention of thinking it's love.
Yes. Yes. I can definitely see that. And it definitely picked up both in the book and the show that she doesn't want to be abandoned. Mm-hmm. So she sees Penelope as her, going to take care of her, but also her companion later in life in a way, because she doesn't want to be left. She wants someone to take care of her for sure and do things for her and such when she's older, but she also does not want to be left alone. What I love that they did in the show is, I think, versus the book, they touch on it in the book, but in the show, they do a really good job of painting the picture of the story of her mom's husband being cruel. And her feeling like her only goal was she wanted better for her daughters. I was like, okay, like some of the things maybe she pushes, maybe this is why.
Yeah, and she does make a point to say, when I was a girl, I was taught marriage was my only way to success.
Yes.
So in my mind, me telling you how to marry and forcing you to marry is my way of making sure you have that security, because I married for security and it wasn't real.
Exactly. And then I was heartbroken when she was like, and it didn't even give me that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, that was emotional for me. Then when she's like, my girl, you really are something, or something like that, that was emotional. And then when her sister did the bugs, because again, Colin was not there for her in the show. Her sister was.
Literally, he was never there. Eloise wasn't there. Like, I just think they almost made in the show, I feel like, except for Violet, with the exception of Violet, I feel like they made a point to almost seem like the Bridgertons were fickle in their love for her.
Oh, good.
Like it was very conditional. Whereas in the book, and the vibe you get from the book, from across siblings, not just from Eloise, you feel like she is another family member, an extension of the family, in a way that these minuscule issues wouldn't be a problem, I guess.
Oh, I 1000% agree. I think they do. Like, again, they bring up multiple times Anthony walked her home when she overheard the I'll never marry Penelope Featherington. Like, it's Anthony who walks her home to make sure she's okay. Like, the family so wants to be there for her, like you said.
One of the big points that I think broke my heart in the book is, so it's, the book starts out with Penelope saying on like Monday, January 1st, I can't remember the exact day because I didn't fall in love with him that day, but she was like, Monday, January 1st, I saw Colin for the first time and I've been in love since, right? And then they cut to his point of view, and as he's starting to change his point of view of her, like how he sees her, he makes a very specific sentence where he says, I could not recall when I first met her, and my heart was just like,
yeah,
what a sad line.
You know, that was really sad. Like, again, and also something, because you know me, and you know the books I like, and you know the male leads that I like. I wanted him to say, exactly, I wanted him to say, like, oh, in the back of my mind, I remember the day, or, you know, I understand why the book goes the way that it does, where he genuinely is not in love with her until we get to the book where she's been pining for years. I would appreciate it if had he been silently pining a little.
Or like, I think if they had used the phrase like, I don't remember the exact day we met, but I remember her falling, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Anything, or me falling, right? Something like that, especially because the moment actually was pretty significant from like a fancy person point of view. The fact that he was just like, don't recall.
Right, like,
Landing on my ass off a horse.
Ouch. You'd think you'd remember that. How many horses is he falling off?
Into the mud. Okay.
Into the mud.
You don't remember that?
No.
So that was, I will say, like, that is the one piece I do struggle with in a reformed Playboy, because I do prefer when it's like a Garrett Graham, right? Where they're already kind of jealous, even though they're trying to be friends kind of vibe.
Yes.
But they don't know why they're jealous. Like, I can accept that. Because, like, you even remember, like, no, I don't want to say that. I don't want to ruin other books for people. Well, thanks for joining this call so I can ruin future
other books for you. Like, remove the names and describe it, but remove the names. I want to see if I can.
Hang on. Let me think of how to phrase this. There have been other books where the friendship between the eventual end couples start, and the male lead is still having relations with other people, but it doesn't feel gross because, how do I explain it? The friendship is friendship, but then there's also low key jealousy, if that makes sense. Like it, it translates as acceptable to me.
I agree.
Forgiveness meter.
It helps with the forgiveness. I don't love previous Colin in this, the book or the show. Oh, I do have a point that I wrote down that I want to talk about. He is angry in the book. Like, he's getting spicy a lot. Not spicy, like sexual spicy. Like, he's angry a lot in the book because they make this whole point that he never gets angry.
Yes. So I was fine with the temper storyline with the exception of one part. Do you know what part that is? Are you going to be able to?
Pretty sure I can think of what it is.
Holding her arm part?
Yeah. That's inappropriate.
It was ick. And it was like it wasn't like a dark romance red flag.
No.
Which sounds crazy, right? Because they do some
really messed up things.
They're going all in. But I do agree with the dark romance girlie's point of view of like, that's fine in this situation. I feel like it was not fine for Colin. It was not fine the way it happened. And it gave me a hard concern about that. It was one of those pieces that in an otherwise great book, I had to mentally bleep to just pretend it didn't happen. Otherwise, it was going to be hard.
Hard to get through. I get it. No, I so get it. And I think I do want to put right here, I think a lot of people are intimidated, like you say, or have concerns with historical romance because there are some very famous historical romance where it's not a dark romance where you know this what you're getting into, but there is a lot of, like, for lack of a better term, and I don't mean to offend anyone because I love historical romance, some very famous older from like maybe the 80s when they were written, older historical romances have a lot of sexism. They have a lot of issues with actual consent. They have a lot of things like that when it's coming. So I love historical romance that's more contemporary in the sense of it was written recently, and they don't do that. I think, I'm not saying that this book is like that at all.
No, but that portion.
Yes. And I also didn't like when he called her woman at a few points when he was angry with her and he was like, woman. And I'm like, that gets on my nerves. I don't like that. I don't
know why, but I read just the woman part. I 100%, and we can circle right on back to that. Yes. But I actually like always read woman as like a woman, you know what I mean? Like I almost read it as like a snark more than I hear it as. But but when you say it, I hear how you hear it, and I feel like if I heard it that way, I would agree.
You would be like, ugh, I don't like that. Because if you said that to me, I'd laugh and I'd be like, I'd get it.
And I would say it to you.
Exactly. But when a male lead in a book says it, I'm like, ooh. Unless you are my woman, you are my love, or whatever.
Yeah.
Different.
Or mine. I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even sometimes the ownership line, sell it.
It depends on how
wrap
it's
it good.
Yeah.
You put something pretty on it, maybe.
Exactly.
But no, I do think we should double down on that one part because I agree. That is a very hard thing to overlook. I don't love it. I wish that they could. It's hard to when you're reading about a male lead who should be a perfect man, not perfect, but you know what I mean? Like your version of perfect, right? It's fantasy, whether it is truly fantasy or it's contemporary or historical, right? It's a envisioned fantasy. Yes. And it is hard to swallow that as the happy ever after male lead when you have some concern, especially when your temper is so highly noted.
Yes. And then they do this whole thing at the beginning. He's so even tempered. He's so easygoing. And then he falls in love, and left and right, he's super mad at her. And in some of the arguments, he says some she gives it right back to him, which I appreciate. She doesn't just accept it and like wallow from it. She gives it right back. But I don't like some of the things he said. I wrote down, I do love Colin in this book. They do a much better job. I don't love some of the things he said.
Yeah, there are definitely key parts that I think are not the fun kind of red flags.
No, not you're going into it. You know there's going to be red flags.
No.
Isn't that so interesting in our psychology? Because there's some books where there's like lots of red flags and you're like, oh, well, I'm down for this.
I guess what you said is kind of the point, right? Knowing what you're going into, it's one thing if you feel like it's for lack of a better way to put it, if you feel like it's a kink or you feel like it's a fantasy, a desire, right, in that realm, versus feeling like we're forgiving somebody for something that should be deeply concerning and talked about and is brushed away as a moment of passion. I think agree. That's the difference.
I totally agree with you. I completely agree with you. And what I think also another layer to this is I think when you're reading a dark romance and you know what you're getting into again, and you know that these characters are super, super flawed, I think what makes us subconsciously get the ick real bad is in real life, people who come off really nice and the perfect girl or man, when they underneath that are really bad people, they're the most dangerous type of people. So when you read about it, yeah, we're getting way off topic. But
no, it is an important thing because I feel like if we gloss over it, it's not right.
I agree. It's not.
So, but what you said is 100% right? If a friend were to tell you about this person in real life, I would be worried about them.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, they're kind of flying off the handle a little too much. And they're saying
in a way that presents leveling concerns.
Yes, exactly. And that too. And I think so this isn't really a spoiler. I'm just going to pepper but it's not a spoiler.
This is how she defends herself.
Yes. I did not feel that way reading even Anthony's book, who's supposed to be this super serious Viscount who's super strong, no emotions. There's no. In Simon's book, there's one thing I think of. But
okay, I was going to ask you. Yeah. I was going to say I actually felt like from a show point of view, Simon gave me that energy. So I was interested to see. Okay.
There are a few things. Again, we're just talking about these books. I don't want to be a spoiler, as I'm famous for. But in Simon's book, there are a few moments where I was like, oh, brother, oh. But in Anthony's book, I don't. Even though he's supposed to be the
hot-headed
early one or whatever. Yeah, I don't remember anything coming to mind.
Okay. One of my favorite lines from this book, I actually quoted it for once in my life instead of just like trying to summarize it for you, is Lady Danbury says to Penelope, "Isn't it nice to discover we're not exactly what we thought we were?"
Yes.
It was, I thought, like such a beautiful and profound line. I was like, oh my God, like what a gorgeous thing to say to somebody. Like, because it's not about somebody else's perception of you. It's validation from within. And that is like,
it was so good. I love Lady Danbury. It's also interesting because she's so good. She's so good in the show, but in the book, she's like the queen / Lady Danbury because the queen's not, so she's like, and it's so, so good. She's so good in the books. And I love too, when they're at that Smith-Smythe musical or whatever, and they're all making fun of girls, whatever it's called. And
Smith-Smythe. That's what I read too. It just sounded like swish slosh, but with the Y.
It makes me think of the guy from Peter Pan that works with Captain Hook, and he has the blue and white shirt. What is his name?
Why do you always bring up fairy tales I don't recall?
Okay, I think it's like Smitty in Peter Pan. Google him, Smitty in Peter Pan. I don't know. Okay, anyways, again, off topic. That's what I thought of when I read that book. But she's even like, well, I was that girl. Like when they were talking about, not fitting in or.
Yeah, definitely Lady Danbury always comes across as like the most wise one in the room. So, and I do always love her energy. Lady Danbury is who I aspire to be as an old lady.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love that. She is great. She is great. Can we just circle back? Because I feel like I have more to say about how much I hate Eloise in the show.
Oh, yeah. I'm honestly, if Eloise doesn't have a hater left, I am dead.
Yeah. Like if
I'm so over her.
Me too. I know we're supposed to hate Cressida in season 1 and 2, and she is bad. But then you chose to be friends with her. You brought her, like, this is crazy to me. And then she's literally pouring her heart out to you, and you're like, and she's like, well, I can't be friends with you anymore. And I was like,
right,
dang.
Oof. Because honestly, you got a little ruined.
Yeah.
Since when, Eloise? Since fucking when?
Since
when? Also, in the show, she like, the way that Penelope, I feel like Eloise evens the playing field with what Penelope had done wrong. I'm trying to think of how else to word that. Like, okay, so she finds out that Penelope wrote about her and Lady Whistledown, right? Yes. But then Eloise does something so that she has to write about, like Penelope has to write about Penelope. Yes. And ruin herself.
Yes.
And it's her fault. How did those two wrongs not cancel each other out? She didn't forgive her then, which I thought was bullshit. And then a step later on, when she doesn't want her, or when she's trying to get her to admit it to Colin, and she's creating all these problems, and then she takes her mind back on that. She's like, actually, no. That's still a problem for me. Eloise just has a way of like, I feel like she had so many points and times that she could have forgiven her, and she still chose not to. And it didn't seem like she had a reason. There was never a point.
I agree. And to me, that was what bothered me the most about season 3 of the TV show was their friendship was supposed to be this wonderful thing, and they're so close forever. And in the books, that's very evident and it's very genuine. And then it's like, she's supposed to be your best friend for like forever. And like, you won't even give her the time to like, I don't know.
Try to make it right.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that to me was like so heartbreaking that they broke up. I was like,
yeah,
this is more heartbreaking to me than her and Colin.
Yeah. And I just feel like the forgiveness part, like when it finally was forgiven, didn't make sense. It just felt like they did their friendship a real disservice to try to create tension because they had already revealed she was Lady Whistledown. I thought that it was also interesting that they chose to make Penelope write bad things about them in the show, but in the book, they make a point to say she never says anything bad about them. Exactly. She only talks bad about the people. So this whole reformed line never would have happened, right? She was already reformed. She was only kind of championing the weak. So it's crazy to me that like they created this, like they kind of made her a villain unnecessarily. They made it hard for, I think, movie Colin to forgive her because you would see his struggle a lot. Like it makes more sense why he has such a hard time with it.
Yeah, I agree. Which then in turn makes the romance harder to believe. So I think that while, his anger, I guess maybe that was the point. It makes the anger seem more justified and realistic versus the book where it seems, we just talked about, it seems a little unjustified. Maybe that's why.
That's interesting.
It made the love story harder to believe on the other end of that.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. You do have a good point there. And because again, they did try to use the same catalyst of feelings, or at least the topic, right? The same concept of the topic, just maybe it transitioned a bit. So maybe you're right. Maybe they were trying to explain away that anger and this tension between them that doesn't necessarily seem there in the same way in the book.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It may be. But again, I think that I could see why they'd want to do that. But I think, again, it does the relationships with the families. Because even like you mentioned earlier, I think even at the end of the episode in the season, you still feel they're a little embarrassed of Penelope.
Yes.
Being like their family, marrying into
it doesn't feel like they're, it just made their love feel fickle.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
Like, we wouldn't have forgiven you until Colin decided he wanted to marry you. And now I guess we're just all going to be on board with it.
Exactly. Which in the books is done very different. And what I love in the books is she never has a falling out with Eloise.
Yeah. And it doesn't make sense, or the Bridgertons at all.
No.
It just, I guess, like I said, the villainism of Lady Whistledown doesn't make sense to me.
Agreed. Because I guess more, what would you say the conflict is in the book then? It's really his jealousy and envy. And
it's his jealousy and his fear of what it would do to her reputation and in turn his whole family's reputation.
Which is logical. I mean, that point is logical because they're not saying from their perspective they're going to judge her, but the quote unquote society is going to judge. But I love how she's revealed in the books and how everyone reacts.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. The ending is really, really good. And there is, can I share an epilogue of another book that doesn't talk about any other couple, but it talks about Eloise and Penelope?
Yeah. I think that's fine.
In a future book, I'm not going to say which one. Nothing to do with who the book belongs to, but we get it's a book that has 2 epilogues. We get in that book an extra epilogue that takes place back in time to this period of this book with Eloise and Penelope. And in that, she comes to her and she finds out, obviously, because they tell the whole family she's Lady Whistledown. Eloise responds, "Oh, I already knew." And then, yes.
I thought that was interesting too. It's interesting that you say that because there are a couple scenes in this book that I feel like they're trying to tell you that she thinks that.
Yes.
When she gets accused of being it, she seems flattered about it. She takes it very kind of laissez-faire, but says she's not her. But it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like she doesn't know.
Exactly. And it's really
interesting
because then Penelope was like, "Oh my gosh," or she didn't say, "Oh my gosh." I said, "Oh my gosh."
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. How'd you know? But she's like, "How do you know?"
Dear Lord.
There's the accent again. Okay. She's like, "Hyacinth told me." And she told me for $20. So it's like, how does Hyacinth know?
Well, because Violet in this book specifically, when Lady Danbury, so that's the difference also here, right? The Queen in the show is the one who is calling out to find out who Lady Whistledown is. In the book, Lady Danbury thinks it would be a fun thing to essentially create chaos amongst the ton by offering all of this money for whoever unmasked Lady Whistledown. So then Violet makes a comment like, "We know that you don't rest until you solve these things. We know that Hyacinth was climbing into windows and shit." Yes. I think that she actually found out during the investigation and then just kind of was like, "Well, can't do anything with that."
That wasn't as interesting as I thought it was going to be.
Couldn't sell it to Eloise. Because I also think what I love is when Colin finds out and is presented with the issue, he immediately goes to his family because, again, the whole point of the Bridgertons is they are a unit. They're a true family unit. So they go to each other in times of need. That is so well illustrated in the book that in the show, everything's a secret. Everything wants to be, well, then I'd have to tell my family. Like, it is very sneaky and it doesn't sell the family vibe there.
I agree. And I think that, again, the show does itself a disservice there because that's what makes these books heartwarming in a way, is that how strong the Bridgerton family unit is. So.
And it just feels like they always have a one-up, So how do I explain this? Like, the difference of the vibe in the show is that it feels like they're always being reactive to problems. So how can you be that great of a house if you're always out of the loop on what's going down? Whereas in the book, it feels like they're ahead of the curve because they're all conversating because they're all chatting and you know what I mean? Like they're in the loop. So by the time it comes out, they're like, "Bitch, we know. Actually, we're going to announce it here." You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like a different, punchy vibe.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I don't know if they did that for TV because people need the drama or they need.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I ate the drama up.
Yeah, I mean, it made me watch the shows. Absolutely, I was wanting to know what happened, but yes, I think that they kind of fluffed that up for TV. But I mean, we're not TV producers. How can we say what they should or should not do?
Well, here's how I can.
Yeah.
Right here. It's called Sippin on Spice Podcast. I'm Jordan.
Yes. Yes, I love it. And I'm Sheridan. I love that. No, that's true.
Can we talk about how much different the proposal hit in the book versus the show?
Yes. Did you see my eyes?
In the show, again, it felt clunky. It felt like, oops.
It felt like rude.
Gotta put a ring on it.
Yes.
I didn't mean to enter.
I have now touched you, and I now have to marry you. But yes, yeah.
He gave her the peace sign and had to give her a ring.
Oh no. Oh no. But in the show, I've never heard it described that way before. That's so
I just think of that scene from the marriage, and then everybody was just like,
that was a bad time to try to take a drink.
I'm gonna regret putting that out there one day.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So, and it was almost even rude that he, like, in the show, it comes off so like, well, are you gonna marry me or not? And in the book, it's like funny. It's their banter. It's their relationship. In the show, it's like, well, are you like you couldn't have said anything else?
Yes. Well, in the book, right? So he finds out she's Lady Whistledown. He's like, damn girl. He's all heated about it, right? He's all passionate. This is not an angry moment. This isn't one of his this isn't one of his manic episodes. He's very like passionate about her safety and her going into town and having this secret, right? And then it's like that moment is like he's so impressed by her and proud of her, and like it's like I guess like that full switch. And it's like such a passionate moment. And then he gets out of the car and he's like, well, obviously the car.
Yeah.
He gets out of the Stang. Yeah. He climbs down from the carriage.
Yes.
And he's like, and she's like, what? Like, what? Okay, see you later. And he's just like,
why would I see you later?
I'm going to go like propose right now.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
you're like, oh my goodness.
It was so much sexier in the book.
It was so much sexier and less, I guess, physical is done. Maybe I can't specifically. They haven't banged yet.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The peace sign isn't real.
The peace sign isn't real. That is made for the show. They just
the plunder is for a different.
Okay. That's hilarious. But yeah, he's supposed to be this writer and in the show.
I heard writer.
Oh.
Sorry, we just transitioned from moment to moment, and I stayed in the dirty lane.
Oh, I have to stay in the dirty lane. I have something. So the mirror scene, him wanting to do it in front of a mirror in the book, that is not in the show.
It is.
It is? When
I spent time thinking about this. Yes.
When is the mirror there?
It's right before they actually have sex.
You're right. You're
and
right.
He's like telling her how beautiful she is. Like I said, they use a lot of key catalyst moments. They do honor it.
Yes.
They just change how it panned out because they flip the story so much.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
I wanted to not know.
Not know what?
That she was Lady Whistledown. Like, I'm sad now.
It's
like I like them both respectively, but it's just like you would think that if you saw the show first that I wouldn't feel as loyal to the book.
Right. Well, the book is, I think, objectively
the book is always better.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yes. So I think it makes sense to feel more loyal to the book, and the book is spicier too than this season.
It's a much better slow burn. Mm-hmm. Slow burn is key. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely spicier, but it's more passionate.
True. That's true.
So a lot more tension from the pining, a lot more.
Yes.
The slow burn, while there is some spicy scenes, I would give it like 2 penny.
Yeah, I would give it like 2.
Maybe 1.5.
Yeah, I would say 2.
It's not closed door, but it's not super open door. It's not.
No.
And there's only several scenes. It is more of a slow burn, pining tension. It's very tension based.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Which makes sense. In this type of book, I wouldn't want it any other way. What are they going to be doing? Banging in the gardens, pretending that it's not flogging society about?
Yes, that's why I'm so excited for you to explore historical romance, because there's different historical authors that handle that in different ways. And I would just be interested to hear what you say, what you think.
I am interested now. It's just I'll probably get them on my Kindle, not by the tiny short books.
Creepy little book with the paper. You don't want the beautiful illustrations.
It's just like, where am I going to put it on my bookshelf? Oh my God. Quick side segue. I just bought a second book in a series. I'm not going to say which one because it's just mean. But
why?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I put them next to each other in the bookshelf. Same edition, like both. Like I got this other one like a couple weeks ago. It is like 2 centimeters taller than the other one.
Interesting.
And it is slightly, I'm talking like boop boop, but you can see it. And then like the spines don't align. You know what I mean? It's just like, but it's one series, same edition.
That's frustrating. That is frustrating. Strange.
What did you do to me? I look at it and I'll never not think about it. Also, now I'm terrified because there's 4 books in this series and I have 2. Oh. What happens when I get the other 2? What the fuck is going to happen?
A centimeter off. They're all going to be like a slight.
And then what do I do? Put it at the end of a bookshelf? Like, I don't know. Nobody anticipated my OCD when they
they needed Lady Whistledown's publisher.
Anyways, that's it. I couldn't let it go.
No, I get that. That would bother me too. So another thing I really wrote down that I wanted to talk about on this episode is I love that both in the book and the show, she calls out Colin a little bit where he's talking about how like I have no purpose and I'm really upset because I have no purpose and aimless. And she's like, dude, you can go do whatever you want in this society.
Literally, you are rich. You are a man.
You are of
she was like, I'm sorry. So you're just mad because you aren't physically doing anything? Then
fucking
do it.
Then go do it. I love that she held her ground because he was like kind of giving her a little bit crap back about saying that. And then she's like, no, I think that there's a simple solution. I think she even says the word simple solution. And I'm like, get it. So true.
Penelope in the book. Flawless. So I loved the book Penelope.
Me too. Because again, she gives it back a little bit. She you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I didn't think about it until you said this, but in the show, I feel like she has a lot of silent moments where like it is her opportunity to speak, and she's just like,
she just chooses that time to not say anything. Or she like makes it, and I don't think that's not the actress; it's the writing.
No.
But yeah,
and that's like one of my least favorite things something can do because it's just like, so you want to defend yourself. You were presented the opportunity to defend yourself, and you chose to say nothing. Because they always get multiple moments where it's like, anything? Anyone there?
No.
Hello? And then they're always just like,
I agree. It is very odd that she chose. They took that away. It's there a little bit in the show, but it's odd, and I don't know why they took that away from her a little bit in the character that portrayed in the show.
Again, they do a bad job of showing how in the public. Yeah. in the public. Whatever.
Yes, wherever that happened. No, but I completely agree. So those were, because I feel like, okay, we talked about my strong dislike of Eloise. We talked about the ups and downs of Colin. I could talk about how much I love Anthony, but I wanted to see if you have anything else.
I have a couple notes about the show.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Okay. How did no one know Penelope was the problem? She had the poker face of a toddler. Every single opportunity that somebody was like, who's Lady Whistledown? She was like,
I don't know.
Like, there was no smooth, like it was always just like,
panic. Oh my God. When she like faints for no reason in the show, it's like, you don't think
you would be like, so.
Right.
Maybe her?
That's odd. That's really odd behavior right now to just faint.
Or just always be looking constipated. She always looks like she's one sneeze away from a poop. Literally, anytime. It's just every single time. She's just.
I need to go rewatch it. Maybe they don't have toilets in the or I don't know.
She did that.
To
again, because they took away all of her talking points. They had to convey everything through her face. So again, nothing bad about the actress. It's just the way they wrote it. She was set to deliver all of her emotions through her smize.
She would have been great on America's Next Top Model. She would have done
if her card she constantly pulled was terror. Yeah. That actress could star in a scary movie right now.
And I think she did a great job, but they really did it. Yes, and like I know exactly the face you're thinking of. Like that's hilarious.
But there were so many scenes. It's not like one time where you're like, oh, they're trying to convey her and Colin having a moment. It's like scene after scene after scene where you're like, is no one else in this room? Where you're just like crawling up the back wall.
Right, like to literally get out because you're worried you're going to be discovered. Also, what I loved about Book Penelope is she kind of didn't care. I mean, she did care. She worried about it.
Colin.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's it.
She was just like, honestly, like I'm.
Yeah.
This is it.
This one is literally panicking every other day and fighting with Eloise every other day.
Yeah. And honestly, Colin in this book was the one panicking every day. Like, just, can somebody get Colin a Xanax?
Yeah. Yes. Something of some kind. Like, get him to calm down.
Didn't they garden?
Didn't they garden? Also, when I watched the show, this is what I always think of when they show the Queen, because the Queen's not in the books really at all.
Not in this book.
No, and she's not in the others. The Queen should be a little busier than she is. She's running a country. She has a lot of time on her hands. Like,
her husband is ill. She's not a traditional queen in the sense that she can just dilly-dally. Who's dealing with the affairs?
Exactly. That's what
Well, was Parliament a thing back then?
I think so. I don't know. Well, yeah, because that's where all the lords are. The lords are lords because they're members of Parliament.
So doesn't Parliament technically run it? I thought the Queen and the King were like a figurehead.
Would they be back then, though? I have no idea. Can someone
British?
Yeah. Tell us
how,
because don't they also have like the House of Commons? Is that the same as Parliament? Is that different than Parliament?
I don't know, but it sounds like a burn.
That's right.
You're there in the House of Commons.
Maybe it is. Maybe because they have Parliament, who's like the gentry, the aristocracy. Maybe they did open it up to be like a House of Commons, like how we would have, where your subjects, us, can vote. Maybe a House of Commons is literally House of the commoners. Basically. I mean, I don't know. I know nothing about this, to be honest. I don't know. I cannot say. But yeah.
Join us next week for another history lesson
that may or may not be true or accurate.
We'll be taking on Germany.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Okay. At what point in time did Colin stand by her? I even put it in quotes because he did not physically stand by her either.
No.
Not IRL, not RRT.
Nope. Not in thought. Not in
That's where I was going with IRT, but it doesn't mean anything.
Nope. In real thought. I get it.
It's not real.
Yeah. It was not real for
just like their friendship.
Or their romance.
Or their companionship. Yeah, I do feel like I feel all up. Here's the thing. I appreciate the book and the show separately. I really do. I will continue to watch the show. I'll probably continue to read the books. Colin and Penelope's love story, as a result of the changes they did, I think suffered.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you. I think that it does a real disservice to the love story, and it was harder to get into and to find believable, which I think is sad because I think it could have been so much better in the show.
So what would you rate this?
For, the stars, the book. Okay. The stars. The book, I'm going to say 3.5 because I struggle with Reformed Playboy sometimes anyways, unless it's done a specific way. He didn't do that specific way for me. And I think him being angry all the time bothered me. So actually, I'm going to change it to a 3.
Yeah. And that's where I think I'm going to join you. I think that here's what I want to specifically say. If some of those anger and physical moments had not happened, I probably would give this like 4.5 stars.
Agreed.
I enjoyed it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I truly enjoyed it. I loved the writing. I thought it was funny. I thought it was written in a way that was easy to read, as if I was in the moment, which I struggle with. Again, see Cockney accent. But I loved the story. I loved the way they did it. I'm fine with the reformed Playboy trope. It really all comes down to that physical moment and the anger tied to it. That's hard for me to say. I would recommend it as like a here's a great male lead.
I agree. And it's hard because the stars for me that are given are from Penelope in the book, the Bridgerton family in the book, Eloise in the book. Loved all that. That's where the stars are coming from and why it's like a 3 or 3.5. I loved all of that. It's just the exact same reasons you mentioned, the lower stars for me. And had those things not happened, I would give higher stars.
Yeah. Because yeah.
And it's I would say 2 penny spice for me.
2 penny?
Penny.
I'm going to say 1.5. How could you say that this was spicier than One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns? You really can't.
Oh, you can't. I guess there's just more tension. Don't get me started on Raven and Elspeth. I will go off. But Elm and I know
you can check out Sheridan's blog.
Raven disappointed me.
It's called Two Twisted Pens. Exactly.
I'm gonna add Colin to a page to that too. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just gonna be like, when male leads disappoint.
It's gonna be your burn book.
Exactly.
Your male lead slam book.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Actually, it'd be really funny. I'd be interested in it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
like added to the book. You just
Raven has more chemistry.
Bridgerton is a fugly slut.
Yes. And then he would go cry about it because he's so sensitive and no one can say anything bad about him ever. So he'd read that and then it would be devastating for him. Anyways. All right, we're going to move on. So 2.8, I guess it's 1.75 because of the tension and the buildup. There's really not a lot of tension in One Dark Window.
There's one piece we should talk about before we go into the game.
Okay.
That I have planned. Unless you have something else you want to talk about.
No, I'm ready.
Okay. One final note. I thought, because I think it's a huge point of contention on the internet, which means everybody's thinking it.
Okay. I'm ready.
Everyone said it because it was on my For You page.
So that's everyone. Yeah.
Everyone thinks it. Which is, I thought the Benedict threesome storyline was pointless.
Oh, I agree. I skipped through those scenes.
And I'm fine with 1-2 adventure. I don't really care about that. It's not the act in itself that was bothersome. It just seemed like, what value did it bring? Will it ever have an outcome that is important to the story?
Is it just that it's showing that he's off on his own path, and then when he does pick someone to fall in love with, it's like, oh, I really love them because
they
went down this path? I don't know.
Yeah, they're just giving him they're giving his character, I don't know what they're trying to do with his character. I don't know that when his time comes, people will care anymore.
No, I kind of worry about that too, because I'm not excited for his season.
No.
Like when it comes,
I feel like he's going to give me the ick for like 50% of it.
Yes, I agree. And the whole artist thing is true to the books, but that's not a spoiler. They talk about it. In the so that's in the show, but yeah, they do something really interesting with his character that I don't. And you know how I feel about Why Choose as well.
Yeah, which is again, but it didn't even seem like
Why Choose. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it goes back like to the dark romance choice, right? We're not choosing a Why Choose. We're not being, if this was what they wanted and they made it a true love story, maybe I'd feel different. But
yeah,
it just seemed to take screen time. It doesn't seem relevant to the storyline. It doesn't seem like it's going to be relevant to the storyline in the future. I don't understand the point.
I don't either. And again, I think the show did itself a disservice because you had a really good point in saying people may lose interest. And then when his season comes out, will they want to watch?
Yeah, because, or when he falls in love, are you going to connect with that love story? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because again, I like a reformed Playboy. One could argue Oliver in the Dark Prince Road. He hasn't had his book yet, but they do a lot of tee up in the other books to make him kind of slimy.
Yeah.
And slimy might not be the right.
Slimy. Yeah, at all. Yeah.
Well, no. How do I want to phrase that? They do a good job of making Oliver look like, he
has no conscience.
Yeah, he has no conscience, no connection from a relationship standpoint. From a friendship standpoint, you see it, but it's almost like his entire persona is to shuck
commitment of any kind.
Yeah, commitment. For Benedict, I feel like you're getting that same energy, but it doesn't. It's almost like he's trying to convince you he believes he's doing something, but I don't know what he's trying to convince me he's doing. I don't know.
Very true.
You know what I mean? It's like a rebellious kid act. Like you're trying to tell me who you are, but it doesn't seem to have content behind it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it seems confusing. And that's like a whole other part too that's just kind of like that's not relatable to watch at all. I talked about this in the books. It's when Penelope gets mad at Colin for complaining about having a lot of good things going for him. I kind of feel that way about Benedict. Because he's like complaining he wants to be on the outside of society. He is all these things that he complains about. And it's like, dude.
But then he goes in and I think in this last season was like, I like a good party.
Yeah, exactly. So
was that a good accent? Did I nail that?
Was. You did. Look at you go. Improvement. Look at you go.
Baby, write this down.
This moment, this day. June, whatever. Yes.
Yeah, that's everything I have to say about the season. If you want to dive into a fun little game.
I'm excited for the game. I'm really excited for the game.
Okay, so I was thinking, what would be fun to play? Because we could play Fuck, Marry, Kill, but
we totally could.
I could only honestly think of the guy that Cressida's supposed to marry.
I mean, we could get dicey. We could, get the popular characters.
But what I really want to do, I want to do Would You Rather.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever played this, but it's kind of like you give somebody two bad scenarios and they have to pick one.
Yes.
Like the
yes, like you yes. The lesser of two shitty situations are evil.
To you, yes. Okay. Would you rather be the enemy of Lady Danbury or Queen Charlotte?
Oh, who would I
like mortal enemy? They hate you.
That's so hard because on Lady Danbury's side, it's like, oh, what have I done to make such a great person hate me so deeply? That's really crummy. I've done something terrible. But then Queen Charlotte, I feel like could technically she never does this, but she could behead you or put you in prison. So I feel
she doesn't behead enough people, really.
We never see any threats behind any action behind her threats. But
you ever think you don't see the guillotine enough?
Or she could do whatever she wants. She could imprison you. She could do, all the things. So I'm going to say I would rather be Lady Danbury's enemy versus Queen Charlotte, only because Lady Danbury probably can't behead me or put me in prison, but I would feel devastated I've disappointed her.
So I feel the opposite. I would pick the Queen.
Really?
It feels like the Queen is more of a chess player, but it seems like Lady Danbury turns her head. So I feel like,
oh, interesting.
Like for example, Lady Whistledown, she just turned her mind on it just like that out of friendship. Lady Danbury, if she hates me, you're right. I'm a shitty person. And I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah. So you're saying the Queen in the show, she is manipulated. She's able to be manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
She is. Or because she wants to play chess. As you said, she sees it as a game.
Yeah, it's a game.
Yes.
Okay. Would you rather marry the guy that Cressida was supposed to marry, the old senile guy?
Yikes.
Or marry the king at this point in time, but he passed after no love story. He's crazy. And you still have to have heirs with both of them.
Oh my God. Ew. Yikes. Yikes. This is a would you rather. This is a hard one. I'm still going to go king. That's crazy. And we have to have heirs just because I don't think he was cruel. I think Cressida's old man husband is probably cruel to her.
That's a good point. Just, here's the thing. I feel like if one were to dabble in fixing, it would be easier to get rid of Mr. Twombly.
Oh, true.
Than it would be to get rid of the king.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well,
he slipped and fell. He ran into my knife 10 times. Would you rather?
I'm ready.
Be a spinster in this situation, like no hope of getting married, like it's done, or a widow to an old man?
A widow to an old man.
Oh,
because
you had his kids, so you still have children.
Yeah, but like like Lady Danbury widow or Violet Bridgerton widow, like a love match widow, or like she's happy he's
no, like a bad match.
Oh yeah, I'd prefer that. Just
like what happened to Lady Danbury.
Yeah, like Lady Danbury situation. I mean, it would be really crummy in the middle there. Like it would be really bad.
There'd be a couple garbage years.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty bad times. But then, if I was a young widow to a bad man, I'm assuming he's wealthy, then I just get to kind of vindictively live off his wealth for the rest of my life, and he's out of the picture.
I think I'd rather be a spinster. I like that they can do whatever they want.
That's true.
Like they'd just be like, "That's just shorted."
That's true. That's a good point.
She's out here spinning her tails.
And you don't have any of those bad years in the middle. You don't have any of those.
Like true. Maybe I'll never find love.
How do you get money? Unless you're Lady Whistledown.
Well, hang on. I think you'd still live with your family if you're a woman.
Would you?
You'd still have to live off your family's money. Yeah.
Oh,
that's why they were trying to get rid of Cressida, remember?
That's right.
They were literally trying to offload the financial strain of her.
Oh my God, that's so true. So if you are going to be a spinster, you want to be a Bridgerton spinster. You don't want to be a Cressida family spinster.
Exactly. You could have born shitty.
You could have been born in a bad situation.
Born shitty. I said that all wrong.
Those are so good. Those are hilarious.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Would you rather Lord Debling or Colin?
Which one's Lord Debling? Oh,
Birdman.
Well, it has to be Colin because obviously,
for you, that's what
as disinterested as he was in me, at least he didn't straight out tell me, "I will literally never love you." Like I do not subscribe to that idea.
You know, they say that at the beginning of every book.
But he literally said, "Like I'm gonna go into the woods."
True. Bye.
Honestly, like I don't even want to hang out. At least the other ones are forced to hang out. Like you could force this relationship. You ever just force love on someone? But you get my point. There could be swindling.
True, that's true. But would you also not then be like a spinster? You would be married, but you could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, but he wanted her to have his kids,
raise
them in his house alone, while he financially supported her, and then went caravanning in the woods.
Out there, just chilling in the woods.
What was he even doing?
Studying birds. Lord Debling. You're like, and all of a sudden it makes sense.
Lord Debling, if he was a millennial or younger, he would live in he would either live in a van or an
RV home. Or yes.
Oh yeah. Like no, but like one of those cars that you make into
a
house. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be what he'd be up to. Which you know what, some people, but then again, he would find love with somebody who else did that.
He would. And then
the point was yes, but the point was he didn't want her with. He was like, I'm gonna head out alone.
I'm gonna park you here. I'm gonna come back every few years to pump you with a new kid, and then I'm gonna
go. Well, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what he was basically telling her. Is like, I'll be home for certain activities and then bye.
Yeah.
Again. And then I'll come back when it's time for another one.
Run my estate and my children.
One thing, okay, I do have one more thing to say about the show. I also teared up at one more part in the show when Violet and her have their understanding because Lady Danbury, when she became a widow, was having relations with Violet's dad. Beautiful. And she said, I know my dad was a good man and I know you're a good friend. And I was like, oh.
The real relationship of the Bridgerton season on Netflix.
Yes.
You Danbury and Violet.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
Absolutely.
Honestly,
hands down.
Get the brother out of it. That's love.
Oh, I know. Come on. Also, okay, this is not a spoiler. What?
Are you gonna go into Francesca right now?
but I have a thought, and it's gonna shock you. At the end of the show, this is not a spoiler because we all saw it. It is expected that Francesca may be at least bisexual in the show, because at the end season, she's obsessed with a woman she meets at the end of this episode of the show. I really, when I was watching it, would have felt more vindicated if Eloise and Penelope were lovers. So I said, I'm going to shock you with this. I would have felt more like their extreme argument made more logical sense. Why is their friendship broken up? This doesn't make any sense to me.
I see what you're saying.
Like, this was so... I could not forgive Eloise's actions. So I was just like, this is wild to me. I don't know.
I see your point. Like, if she'd have been like, you weren't supposed to marry my brother, it was supposed to be me.
Thank you. Why was she so mad he was going to marry Colin?
Honestly, why? I would have felt so bad for Eloise, and I would have been like,
I would have totally changed your perception of the character.
Yeah, you're right. Honestly.
So, yes. That's what I thought.
Can you write the fan fiction?
Yes.
Jordan's getting a Wattpad account right now.
Well, I have to start my blog, and then I'll put that on there.
A male lead burn book and a Penelope Eloise fan fiction.
That's so funny.
I would read it.
Thank you. It would be wonderful because, again, it would make more sense than what happened.
Yeah. I honestly would have been like,
this makes sense.
So all in all, for me, I have always believed that the books are better than the show, and that proved true here too. Didn't matter what order I did it in. I would absolutely recommend somebody to read it, but I would say about those moments with Colin that I was concerned about, that I would not describe him as a picture perfect male lead.
Agreed. I preferred the book as well to the show, which again is interesting because I would say I preferred Daphne and Simon's show season to the book. Oh. So just interesting there, but I absolutely preferred this book to this season of the show. And I agree with everything you said, but I did enjoy the reread.
Most people do.
Yep. And I did enjoy the show as well.
Good. Yeah. I would now definitely read more.
I know. Now I want to do a reread of everything. Like, to go back, because there's so much I don't remember. So now I want to
let us know if you're interested in that. Maybe we do. Maybe you inspire us to go backwards and compare. You heard it here first through the grapevine on Sippin on Spice,
where we give unhinged, unfiltered reviews and we say what you were already thinking.
If you like what you heard, join us next week or check us out on TikTok or Instagram at Sippin on Spice.
See you next week and cheers.